Hi, this is Kamal Austin, publisher of The Scoop on Black News, the Black News Scoop, the Southeast Queen Scoop, and other digital publications. And today I'm with a, uh, a person that I'm very excited about interviewing, Margaret Madhi. I hope I have it correct. And so what I'm so excited about is that she has a theater company with our sister city, Chicago, and she's bringing a musical called Bronzeville, the musical, to the legendary Apollo Theater. So, Margaret, I want to welcome you to the show.
Thank you so much, Kamu. It is a blessing to be here, and thank you for the opportunity.
Well, I'm honored that you made time out of your busy schedule to be with us. And I wanted to ask you, and I may sort of um, take a little liberty with this question, but what inspired you to expand from your background in education and to get into the theater? What inspired you and motivated you to do that as I guess a career change?
Yes. Well, thank you for the question. Theater to me is a classroom. And although I served as a Chicago public school teacher for 20 years, I simultaneously was always connected to the theater world. As a little girl, I would attend plays. My parents were very adamant about exposing their children to culture, refinement, activities, the theater, and I was always amused. But I also noticed that there were not enough of us on the stages.
Hmm.
And I felt inspired to use the gift of writing to create our original narratives and to connect more with the theater world. So, although I was teaching, I was still producing and writing plays, and hence, and as I was teaching for 20 years, I also was operating a theater company. So the inspiration came from being that of a child, but also the theater is a large performing arts classroom. So as a director, I'm also still a teacher.
Hmm. I understand. Now let me ask you this question. How important do you see the theater as far as teaching us about our culture and history, especially during a time now politically where we're talking about CRT and they don't want our history taught in our classrooms? Do you see what you're doing in theater as something that can be maybe a replacement for that, or a very subtle kind of way that we can get education about our past?
Absolutely. That is what propelled me to stay on this course of action because the theater world and expression, creativity is part of educating. We cannot be successful alone in a classroom because, to your point, we are not exposing our youth, the Black youth and Brown youth, to their narrative, to their history. It's very limited. I've learned that the only people that know of their history, pardon me, the only topics in history that our youth is aware of is Harriet Tubman and Dr. Martin Luther King.
Right.
Their knowledge is incredibly limited. So, as a playwright, I find it as a mission, purpose to expose our people to their narrative. And what better way to do it than through the stage? It's entertaining, it's engaging, and it's captivating. So it's
Exactly.
certainly mission driven. And you can write about all kinds of unique stories from history. And those children and our young people will sit there and be so enamored by their history. So it's very important.
Right. Well, I want to ask you, I'm from New York. I've been to Chicago before. It's a beautiful, beautiful city.
Yes.
Um, and I have had some really good friends from Chicago. But as a New Yorker, and you're coming to the legendary Apollo Theater, would you be kind enough to tell us some more about the rich history and what was the motivating factors for you to do this musical on Bronzeville?
That's right. Thank you. Well, we learned that the historical Apollo has been so it's a part of our history, it's part of our culture. And Bronzeville also is a community about the legendary great people such as Nat King Cole, Dr. Margaret Burroughs, Dr. Margaret Walkers, Gwendolyn Brooks, Count Basie. Many of them have graced and came through wave of the Great Migration and
Yeah.
ended in
Mhm.
Bronzeville.
Yeah.
So Bronzeville, the musical, and the history of Apollo mirrors each other beautifully. And
Hmm.
we are pitching the show for Broadway, but what best way to present a universal message on a stage that celebrates our culture, our history, our music? And that is what inspired us and motivated us to select the legendary Apollo Theater to present this one of a kind story about the Great Migration, about how Blacks built this great city as well as Harlem. I also have discovered that there is a Brownsville in Brooklyn, there is
Hmm.
a Bronzeville in Milwaukee. Wherever Black people had to land, we made something out of nothing. And that story has to be told. And what better way to tell the story on and have an opportunity to tell it on the Apollo stage?
Yeah, and I really appreciate you as far as being a visionary in that regard, because uh, basically, you know, our what we would call our main site, our flagship site, the Southeast Queens Scoop, has a very similar background where many people like Jackie Robinson and um, so many great luminaries uh, came from that area. Uh, Fats Waller, a lot of Lena Horne lived there. Ella Fitzgerald also lived in Southeast Queens. So it was an area that was the first part sort of the suburbs of New York where Blacks were allowed to live. And, it became, at one time, that this part of the city was going through all kinds of turmoil with gangs and drugs and all that. But the community came together, the churches and different people, and turned the community around, and it became the first large community in the country where Black income surpassed white income in the surrounding areas. It's the first time that happened to a Black community of over 500,000 people in the country. So we're very excited to hear about Bronzeville, and we should share these stories, in my opinion, so we can encourage each other. And, you're not going to see stories like this probably on Fox News and major media, but this is something that definitely needs to be told. And I'm so happy that you're coming to New York to teach us about um, what happened in Chicago and this great community. It's an amazing thing for us to learn. Uh, I wanted to ask you, how do you find and cultivate the talent that you are using in the musical? Because I've seen some videos, and we're going to include some videos on our news blogs where people can see, little excerpts of Bronzeville. But how do you find and cultivate the talent?
Thank you. Well, we hold auditions and we are very much engaged in the community. we know that there are a lot of young, Black, talented men and women that want an opportunity. And that is the mission of Mahdi Theatre Company. Our mission is to educate, elevate, and inspire through the arts. And they are appealing themselves for an opportunity to grace a grand stage. Many of them do not have formal training. Many of them do not know where to go to present their art. So at the Mahdi Theatre Company, with the experts that we have vocal coaches, musical directors, choreographers, stage managers. We are mostly on the board are all teachers. So we have an empathetic heart and we have a caring heart. And our job is to teach our young talent the etiquette of theater, the value of who they are, self-concept, the importance of having confidence, because before you can touch that script, you have to have certain elements within you that is cultivated. And many of them come from dysfunctional homes. Many of our people have been broken down, and it takes just someone, it takes a group of people to connect to where you can believe in yourself and you can say, yes, I can perform. Yes, I can act. Yes, I can dance. So it's beyond, we call it beyond the script. It's about touching hearts, the souls, and the minds of our people. Then we get into the aesthetics of the art. So it certainly is a mission. And we're teaching them the discipline of theater. It's one thing to say, oh, I want to be on the stage and act, but do you have the understanding of theater? Do you know the importance of arriving on time? Do you know
Mm.
the importance of how to work with a group of people of diverse backgrounds and how to honor and respect others? So it really is the psychology and the psychosis of the stage. And it's so beyond the applause. So, I mean, this again, I'm very grateful to God that I am now really seeing the bigger picture. It's about saving lives. It's about
Mm.
touching souls. It's beyond getting the money for it, because show business have all of these different uh it's the lights, it's the money, it's the fame, but at the root of it you got to build character, and without good character you don't have a show. And I believe that is why we were blessed by God to grace the Apollo Theater stage, because our community theater group here in Chicago, we value ethics, morality, honesty, respecting each other, honoring the code of conduct, and then we get into the art of it. So we don't, I know some directors here in Chicago, or if you're on their set, they're cussing you out and disrespecting you. That's not our philosophy. Our philosophy is rooted in what is truth and what is respectful. And we're very, very grateful for the opportunity. So we have worked with hundreds of talents. And this group right here, they were destined to come and take a leap of faith to journey to New York at the Great Apollo. It was all destiny.
Right. Wow. Wow. Well, let me just ask you, like my last question, because I know you're pretty busy, but I have to ask this because, this is something we try to find out um, with our interviews. I would imagine, and I know Black business, creating Black businesses, viable Black businesses, and production companies and things like that, it has to be a challenge. What were some of your biggest challenges creating your production company, getting it to the point where you can go to the Apollo, and how did you overcome them?
We are facing a challenge every day. Every day it's a challenge, because what I really come to see, one would say it's money. Money is always a factor, certainly, but it's beyond the money. It's we are people of little faith. And when we as a people get together or unite to do something bigger than ourselves, that is where the challenge comes. So every day we have to affirm that we can, and we are one, and that we are blessed by the best. And so it's really a psychological thing That is the challenge. Black people have trust issues, so we don't trust. And,
Mhm.
and we have issues of great insecurities. And then we're facing the nasty green eye monster of that of envy. So it's so many different hurdles that we have to overcome. But I say this, if God has given you the dream, and he has provided you the resources to bring that dream to fruition. And it is not me, but it is him. He has selected all of us to do a job. Our job is to add joy, peace, bring about a mission, a movement on his earth. And I believe once we start thinking that it's not us, but we're serving a greater purpose, we will overcome these obstacles. So every day is a challenge. As I'm speaking with you, I am facing a challenge, but I have to stay in faith and in prayer that all great people must go through the struggle, because it is the struggle that makes us who we are. And we can appreciate the struggle at the end, that we did not give up and that we held on to what was right. So every day we're facing a struggle, but at the end, we know we will be successful.
Wow. And on that note, I want to thank you for taking the time out and inspiring us while you're telling us about your production that's coming up. I can't wait to really get out there and plug it and push it and really uh, get our people to come out from this area and support you. So
Thank you.
you're welcome. So this is Kamal Austin again, the publisher of the Black News Scoop and the Southeast Queens Scoop and the Scoop on Black News. And I want to thank again Margaret uh, Madhi for what she's doing and for her great production coming up. And let's go out and support her on either the 16th or 17th of November in this in both on both our website and YouTube channels. We'll have links to where you can get your tickets, and we want to see your face in the place. Okay.
Yes.
All right. I look forward to seeing you, Margaret, and thank you again.
Thank you. And God bless you. Thank you for the opportunity.
You too. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.